you give us your name and pronouns?
Yeah, I'm Madeline, she, her, hers. I went to SCS my first quarter here, which was a while ago now. It was pretty simple for me, and I know that's not a lot of people's experiences, but I just went in and I was clearly like in a bad spot. I think I had a better understanding of what it was that I needed since I had already been in therapy before in high school, and I kind of knew like where I was at mentally. So I went to SCS and I kind of explained like my situation, like I have a history of depression and anxiety, and like I'm really not feeling great here. And when I was back home in therapy and like under 18, my parents had not really been into the idea of medication. So when I was at SCS, I met with a therapist for like a couple times. I don't know. She wasn't very good, honestly. It was not very like helpful therapy at all. But she had this idea to send me to a psychiatrist at SCS instead. So I met with a psychiatrist who kind of immediately like determined that the best course of action would be prescribing medication. And I was like, sure, I'm down for that. And so she prescribed that and I started taking it, and it seemed to help a lot. And I think it was a combination of like taking that plus also just finding a supportive group of friends at UChicago. And like I stopped taking honors calc after the first quarter, so like that probably helped a lot. But they weren't like super involved in my healthcare. It was very streamlined. I'm not sure exactly how to explain it, but it was like I knew what I needed from them, and they had a very like go-to course of action for making me feel better, and it was like pretty well managed. It was just like, okay, like therapy and then getting the psychiatrist to give me medication. I think transparency is a huge issue with SCS. I think it's really not clear at all what to expect. Like the personality of the therapists and psychologists and psychiatrists there is not always very clear. Like I kind of wished you could learn more about who actually works there and like meet a couple of them at first and kind of figure out who you're going to fit with best, or like maybe talk on the phone with some of them first, something like that, where you could actually kind of understand what you're getting into and what kind of environment you need. And then like secondly, the policies need to be a lot clearer. Like it is not clear to a lot of people that I'm pretty sure it's meant to just be like a band-aid kind of temporary solution. So like if you have like one kind of out of the blue like mental health thing come up, I think it's kind of meant for more like, oh, let's just like get you over this little blip. And I don't think it's really meant to be there for longer term issues. I don't think it's very clear for a lot of students what is considered like a warning sign or what isn't considered a warning sign. I've heard stories of like, people expressing suicidal ideation and that causing them to be sent to Lakeshore, which is like really scary because obviously like a lot of people have suicidal ideation at some point in their life. Like that's especially at a school this intense and with so much pressure that students are under. And that kind of thing should not get you like removed from your community here and sent someplace else. And I think most psychiatrists and therapists like recognize like, yeah, like this is a relatively common mental health issue. You kind of have to like trust that and like talk through that and figure that out and reconcile that. You can't just be like, oh my God, they said the S word, like gotta go call somebody. And that's not always how SCS works, it seems. There's a lot of people who are like, yeah, I support mental health. And like, yeah, like, of course I'm not going to stigmatize anyone who like has whatever kind of mental health issue. But I think it's still like on a very personal level, it feels super vulnerable. And a lot of people's parents didn't grow up in a culture that supports emotional health. It's also just a lot of unawareness and not knowing what to expect from SCS, not knowing like what resources SCS provides. And I think also like the horror stories from SCS perpetuate so much more than the good story. And like rightfully so, when people have a bad experience, they should make other people aware and that should be talked about and addressed. But I think those types of stories tend to be propagated around campus and spread around, and kind of there's a little bit of fear mongering. Like people might just kind of hear one bad story and like extrapolate that like every instance of SCS is going to be horrible, and I don't think that's true. And there's a lot of support and recognition that it is a really hard school. And then like another thing also is that like I've definitely like cried in random public spots around campus, but like I've also seen other people cry in random spots around campus, and it's kind of like, yo, like I feel you, like you're crying, it's okay. Like I feel like people are they're not as weird about people's emotions because they're like, oh my God, like I feel you, like I understand that. Yeah, but I think for the most part, it's just like being able to find a community here. And for my mental health in particular, it was like my transition from my hometown where it didn't fit in to coming here, and just like finding people who are a lot more like me and just people I could trust and talk to was really, really important. I know that there is like a relatively new treatment center, I guess you would call it, called Hyde Park Center for Healing. I've been meeting with someone there and she's like really good and like helpful. I found the other people through Psychology Today was the website. And I think it has like options to look for your specific health insurance plan. And they also had like a really helpful feature on the website where you could like email the provider instead of like calling. Cause like I don't like calling. It just is scarier than emailing. I've had some trouble finding therapists because some of them just like listen to you. And like, that's not what I need. I kind of need like more cognitive behavioral therapy where someone will be like, do you realize like you just said this huge contradiction in your thoughts? Like, let's explore that. So sometimes it's hard to find like more specialized types of therapy, but it's just like scary to open your laptop and like do the first like Google for how do I find a therapist in my insurance network in Hyde Park. I don't know. I just want everybody to be okay. And like, it's gonna be okay. I swear. Like my biggest depression episode was when I was 15 and it was awful. And like, I have to really get into a different mindset to even think about how awful it was. But like even if you are in the depths of your depression right now, like I relate to that and understand that. I look at my life now and I'm just like, I never imagined ever that I would be doing like half of the things or like being in like this restaurant like right now, like eating this food, like damn, like, this is really good food, you know, or just like there's so many just little things that happen in life that you just can't expect are going to happen. Those things will show up and like it's going to be okay and you're going to get through it. And I know like time stretches and feels weird and it feels like things take forever, but like it passes eventually and it's going to get there. And that there's so many people at UChicago who are willing to help and who are willing to listen, who will like guide you to the right place. And you just can't be afraid to ask for help when you need it because chances are like a lot of other people need help too.